What's up, brother? The pigs are back, or at least a duo of pigs are back to witness
Couple of
and
pigs.
react from another podcast courtesy of bgobsession.com. Before we get rolling, get some particulars out of the way. If this is your first time here, thank you and welcome. Please hook us up with a like and a subscribe. Share the video. We really appreciate any kind of advertising you can do for us. And obviously, if you've been here before, we thank you for returning. And as always, this is a Blind Pig podcast. Blind Pig is a synonym for a speakeasy. So please feel free to pour yourself a drink. Follow us on all major podcast platforms. And if you want to watch, you can catch us on youtube.com. So we have had an influx, brother. We have had a lot of new buzz on bgobsession.com. So I would like to say thank you to all new members. And if you have found yourself coming over to the board, welcome. Please, we enjoy having you. So engage, have fun, and we love to see you around.
Yeah, it was a treat to watch the game this weekend. Our brother from Bavaria, Mark, had come back last weekend. We went up and we saw the Bears game, that incredible finish that we all have been rolling around in and wallowing in. And then we're big golf guys. Bad golf guys, but we love golf. And so normally when Mark is visiting, we would play as much golf as you could fit into daylight hours. And then we would come back and watch the game, on YouTube or whatever, or NFL Plus. But we actually played one round on Sunday morning and we came back. We got some pizza and then we were ready to go, man. And that tells you, I'm just telling you, for me, that's like a different level of fandom where you rearrange your day to instead of rearranging the game so you can have your day, we rearranged our day so that we could be, watching the game live. So I'll let you start out, Derek, just with your overall impressions on how was this game compared to some of the other matchups we've had.
So I'm not going to be as excited as some people have been. Obviously, and we can break down a little bit more. There were some struggles in the run game early. It was blatantly obvious. I actually kind of look at it a different way. I've been chewing on this for a couple days now. I'm thinking that they know that we have liabilities, especially on the outside, and their entire system is built to not give up the home run play. They would rather give up a touchdown on a 7 or 8 minute drive than on a 4 or 5 play drive. Because when you do that, you can also manage your offense on the other side of the ball. And our offense has been playing well enough that we can pretty much go blow for blow with anybody. So I really wonder, and I guess I wasn't getting as upset and as discouraged as some of the people as some other fans, and I might be wrong here, but I actually look at it like we did exactly what we needed to do to win the game. And we're a kneel down at the goal line away from a double-digit victory. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I can't be too critical because we're 7-2. We won the game, and it could have been a 12 or 13-point victory instead of a 5-point victory. Obviously, you want to step on their throats. You want to be able to stop them when you need to stop them. But I definitely is a breath of fresh air to look at it and say, well, if you really analyze things, these were the right moves to grind the ball out and then kick the field goal to go up by 11. You know what I mean? While you could have thrown it, you could have tried to score a touchdown there, but at the same time is take as much time off the clock, get it to the point where they need a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal to draw even. And your defense, this is an offense that had only been averaging 16 points a game, and they're supposed to score 11 in the final 6 minutes of this football game. I think I have to say that I wasn't as upset with some of the stuff that I heard. And cornerback is still a liability. We all still know that we're still going to struggle at corner. I hate to break it to everybody out there if you're listening, but if we don't do anything by 5 o'clock tomorrow, we're still going to have problems at corner. So it's not going to change over the next 9 games. But I'll take a W in a division on the road against a division opponent, and pretty much every day.
So Derek knows some of what I'm going to say because we do a game chat on BGO every game day, which is a blast. Come check that out. But I said some of this during the game because there was a little bit of it was getting a little negative in there and a little panic stricken as it sometimes does. But the first thing I said is, look, as we all know, sometimes you win ugly, man. Sometimes you're in games. It's a division opponent. The Giants know us as well as any team we're ever going to face, and it's just different when it's a divisional game, and I think that's true in every division. So it's going to be ugly sometimes. It was kind of ugly. I guess the other thing that jumped out at me was we had a lot of trouble running early on them, and I give Cliff Kingsbury a ton of credit because not only are we running the ball, like we are one of the top running teams in the league in terms of being committed to the run, especially when you don't abandon. How many times over the years have we said they abandoned the run after the first quarter and we just went, we threw it 50 times, which generally didn't work out very well for us. He did not waver, man. They kept pounding the rock, and really, I mean, in the end, we ran it 38 times. Nobody like had a breakout day, but Chris Rodriguez, who I have to apologize, not that Chris Rodriguez cares what I think, but I made the statement right before his biggest play of the game. I made a statement like, I'm just not that impressed with Chris Rodriguez Jr. I don't really get why fans are in love with him or whatever. And then he showed me some good reasons why. And he got a lot of, I don't know if it was today, but I know Dan Quinn was giving him a lot of props because he didn't know up until the very last minute whether he was going to, even be in the game or not. And then he goes out there and has runs for 52 yards, including a 17-yarder. Well, we had 4 guys, including Jayden, who had 16-yard rushes or longer. And of course, we had Eckler and McNichols with the touchdown runs. But anyway, I'm just super impressed with Cliff Kingsbury. And I'm starting to understand more like why he bristled early on when reporters would ask him about the air raid offense. Because this is a pretty run heavy air raid offense if it's an air raid offense. So I just love that. And this was the total mirror image of the game against the Bears, where our offense kept stumbling at critical points. And other than, at the tail end of the game, it was really the defense that played outstanding in the Bears game and kept us, every time we needed a stop, they got a stop. This was a mirror image of that. Every time the defense stumbled and it looked like it might be a typical Giants, they don't deserve to win, but they win anyway game. The offense, specifically Jayden, but also the wide receivers, stepped up and made a huge play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's kind of weird, man, for me, because I'm like all other Redskins fans, right? That have been long-term Redskins fan, where you just feel that sense of impending doom in the waning minutes of the game, waiting for something horrible to happen. I don't feel it anymore. And it's the craziest thing. It's like, not that I'm absolutely would bet, the mortgage on that we're going to win the game on the last drive. But I just have this feeling when Jayden gets on the field that he's going to have his best drive of the game at the end of the game. And he's done it multiple times this year. And it's just a nice thing, man.
It is. And I think it goes beyond just that you said the last drive. I mean, that drive, the most important drive was the one I kind of referenced with there was 7 minutes to go. And all they did was just churn clock, drive down, and end up kicking a field goal. And it's how many times in the past have we said, all right, guys, the most important thing we need now is points. We just need points. Points are the priority. Take time off the clock, and then we would have a 3 and out. You know what I mean? Or something. We'd have a big play and then it would totally stall or whatever. That was just we're going to run it down your damn throat. You know what's coming. We know what's going down, and we're just going to end up controlling the pace of the final 6 minutes of this football game. And if you stop us before we score a touchdown, we're okay with that, as long as we get the points. And it was from everywhere. Eckler had a couple big plays, primarily in the pass game. To your point, Chris Rodriguez had a couple. McNichols might have had one or two that squirted through. Ertz had a couple clutch catches.
Noah Brown was 5 of 6. Noah Brown was our leading receiver.
Yeah.
Terry, it's hilarious. Terry only catches 2 balls, but they're both touchdowns. That's pretty good.
Right.
That's not bad at all.
Jayden had a couple scrambles in this game that were just, and again, should we have beat them? Yeah, we're the better team. We were the better team walking into that stadium. We ended up getting the victory. Would you have liked to just completely handle them? If you look at the first half stats, I don't know if you're going to talk about this. Daniel Jones, I believe, had 6 yards passing in the first half. Am I losing it when I say that, or something similar to that? I mean, that's like what they did against Caleb last week. You know what I mean?
And even though the defense looked pretty vulnerable at times, they did sack him. They did get to him. They did pressure him. I think they mostly contained him. He did burn us a couple times with his feet, but he didn't run for 150 yards on us or anything crazy like that. Dante Fowler had both sacks, had a forced fumble that we recovered. I think Bobby Wagner
flashed. Jeremy Chin had his best game of the season.
Yeah, he did. So it's not like the defense wasn't making any plays at all. It's just like you said. I think Emmanuel Forbes did not play a single snap to my knowledge. So you got to wonder what that means,
right?
If anything, but.
Well, I think the other thing is, real quick, just to tie it up on the defense. Look, they were gashing us for 4 and 5 yards a carry, but guess what they ended up doing? They ended up giving up on a pass play that was being or a run game that had been very effective. Why? It's almost like they knew that the Giants, I'm not going to talk too bad about it, but it's almost like they knew that they were going to be too smart, too dumb for their own smartness. You know what I mean? And they were going to, they were inexplicably times they were dropping Daniel Jones back 3 consecutive plays when they were just having their way with us in the run game.
But I think the other thing is too, and we've talked about this as the season's gone on, is that we have coaches now that actually know how to adjust, that make adjustments, know which adjustments to make. And I guarantee you, Joe Witt Jr., I saw Dan Quinn talking to Joe Witt Jr. a lot in this one. And I know what he was saying. He was saying, we got to clamp down on the rush, man. We can't let them do this all game. And they really did clamp down on it. I wanted to mention one thing because I always like to look at the stats, the team stats. And this is really one of the first games. It's going to kind of illustrate what I meant by sometimes you win ugly, because we did not win. We've been winning most statistical categories all season long. Maybe not against the Ravens, but we lost the time of possession battle. We lost the first down battle, 21% to 25%. We lost the third down conversion battle, 41.7 to 54.5%. We lost the rushing yard battle, 149 to 164. We lost the penalty battle, 5 for 52 to their 4 for 51. We lost red zone efficiency, 50% to 67%. The only major statistical category we won was passing yards, 209 to 162. So, but we still won.
Turnovers.
We still won the game, and that's the thing. And that's the other thing I kept saying in chat is the only statistic that really matters in the end is that stinking scoreboard. So, anyway, I'm okay with it. And we're not gonna go through this season and just be at the top of our game every single time we play. The opponent. It just doesn't work that way.
You're right, and I think everything that we have seen and everything that we got concerned about yesterday was things that us, even as casual fans, were watching, and we knew that this was going to be problematic. Like I know we don't. Everybody that watches this team knows we don't have a number one cornerback on the roster. We do not have a shutdown guy. So, by the way, Malik Neighbors didn't have his first catch until midway through the third quarter. You know what I mean? Like, were they running up and down the field on us all day long? Well, yeah, they were, but guess what they weren't doing? They weren't finishing drives, they weren't scoring points, and they weren't leading the game. Like, we had a double-digit lead at halftime. So I guess I just continue to remind myself we can't look, dude. This is not going to be the '91 Redskins every year. You know what I mean? We're not going to be able to have the best offense and the best defense on the field every given week. And hey, we're 7-2. It's working.
So let's hear what our brother from Bavaria, Mark, thought of the offensive part of the game.
Okay, Commanders fans. So I got to watch this one live with my friend John, who is currently sharing the screen here. And one thing that overwhelmingly struck me watching this game was how stressful it is to watch your team when you think that they should win a game. I haven't had that feeling probably since Gibbs was here the first time. Anybody who's older than 40 or 50, I guess, might remember what that was like, where you went into every week expecting your team to win the game and stressing over it when it looked like they might not. I haven't felt that feeling in a long time, and I was really struck by it watching this game on Sunday. So before I go any farther, this has to be a thing. I will continue to do this stupid thing as long as this team continues to win games. There. So it is hard. Gibbs used to say, see if any of you remember this, Gibbs used to say that the pain of losing was more intense than the joy of winning, that losing was much, much worse, the pain of it, than the joy you used to get from winning. And I used to think, yeah, that sounds kind of wrong to me. But I had that thought watching this game on Sunday when it was clear, again, by middle of the third quarter, that this is a game that should be in hand. And then all of a sudden, the Giants are threatening and making a comeback, and our defense can't seemingly stop anybody. And all of those feelings just welled up that, oh my God, we're going to lose this game. You can't lose this game. The difference is, and I think John said this to me earlier today, that he never really doubted that the offense would pick up the defense and that they would win the game. And when I was watching it live, I kind of felt the same way. The kid this kid's got this way of just spreading calm throughout the whole team, clearly over his teammates, and it permeates down to the fans. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a team that just went 7-2, swept a division opponent, coming off of a huge emotional win against a desperate team on the road, all that stuff, all the reasons that this team could have lost this game, and yet managed to pull out a tough division road on the win. Division wins are different. Division games are different than any other game, right? Didn't the Browns just beat the Ravens the other day? Mm-hmm. Division games are wacky. So we're living in this interesting time where the joy of winning these games is kind of overwhelming and getting into the spirit, and creeping up behind you, this little voice is thinking, oh shit, we could actually lose a game. I love every second of this, but I am keenly aware that going into every game now is going to be this expectation that this team ain't going to lose. Next time we lose a game, which, it's probably going to happen, it'll be interesting to see how we feel about it. So I'm going to do this fairly quickly. On offense, just a couple of things I wanted to say. Jayden Daniels is making elite quarterback play, passing quarterback play look routine. And I don't ever want to lose sight of that or fail to recognize some of the throws that this young guy is making under the biggest pressure. He is finding the right guys. He's delivering the ball every week. There's probably a half a dozen throws in that game that were just elite throws that he's starting to make look routine. Patriots fans got used to seeing that over 15 years with Tom Brady. That's a new thing around here, and I will never get tired of watching that. Another thing that has been noticed, John, you will appreciate this, is that this team has played 36 quarters of football. They have scored in 34 of them. And this is credit, I think, to Al Galdi. He was saying this. This team has failed to score points in 2 quarters out of 36. One of them was the first quarter of the first game, Tampa Bay. The other one was the fourth quarter of the Cleveland game with Mariota playing in mop-up duty. The score is way out of hand. We didn't need to score. 34 out of 36. This offense keeps relentless pressure on defenses. And that pressure has to be felt in terms of the play calling that opposing teams are making. You imagine, you have to score on every drive because there's a pretty good chance that the other team, that the Commanders are going to score points on a regular basis. That's massive. So
yeah, that's something that I brought up the last couple of weeks is how consistently we're putting points up. And I heard somebody talking earlier today about that, like they felt like Washington had been flat the last 2 weeks. I don't think they've been flat at all. I mean, they've come out, like I said, you're going to have games where there's matchups that don't favor you in every game. There's adjustments that have to be made. So I'm pretty happy with the way they're playing. I like to run down like the milestones from these games, because this is a pretty special season already. So here are some of the milestones that we hit against the Giants. We are 11 for 11 on 4th downs, and I was getting ready to say, which is insane. Well, it's so insane. It hasn't happened in the NFL since 1980. Like the statisticians are having trouble figuring out when the last time this happened was, because it hasn't happened in a long, long time. But 1980 is the last time a team went 11 out of 11 on 4th downs. And we might not be done with that record yet. Dan Quinn earned his 50th head coaching win on Sunday. McLaurin became the 10th player in franchise history to score 30 touchdowns. Fowler recorded his 50th sack of his career. And Bobby Wagner recovered his 11th career fumble. So even in games where we're not playing particularly well, we're setting the records and milestones. So I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I heard another one before where they said this goes back to 1977, where this particular stat was first reported, and before that things get kind of hazy. Like it's just crazy. Another one that we just, believe it or not, which is hilarious to think about, considering how we all were scared to death of our kicking situation, is I believe Austin Siebert just took the lead for most made field goals this season. Not even consecutive, just most in general, which like we were all scared to death. You know what I mean, with McManus, and then what's going to happen?
That was another moment where like I recognized like I should be like terrified that he's going to miss this field goal, and the Giants are going to take the ball down the field and score and win the game. But I really wasn't, because he's just been super solid. In fact, our entire special teams unit has been super solid. Eckler almost broke one. I think he ran a kickoff back 35 yards. I thought he was going to take it to the house. I think he will take one to the house before it's all said and done.
And it actually count? He's taken 2 that have been called back.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
and I feel like we're still getting jobbed every week by the officials, man. And I guess one of my pet peeves this season has been, do they not realize? I know Jayden runs the ball a lot, but did they not realize he's the quarterback and they're supposed to do games to protect him? He's taking shots every game that should be roughing calls
in the backfield. It's not even running. He's in the backfield. And he's had at least 2 missed hip drop calls that I've noticed. That they were supposed to put an emphasis on this thing, and I've seen, I know once against the Panthers, or it might have been the Browns, and once this past week where it was a blatant hip drop. It was not a horse collar, and there are 2 different penalties now, but it was by the letter of the law what a hip drop should be called, and they didn't call it. And you're right. I don't understand why.
I don't know. Maybe they need to have a conference call with the officiating crews where they remind them that Dan Snyder's no longer the owner of Washington, and evil incarnate does not have to be, combated at the refereeing level. That just to call it like they would any other game. But I'm tired of seeing Jayden take shots like that. And I guess the other thing I don't understand is you see these random calls where some executive in the officiating wing of the NFL like calls in from New York and reverses a call or has them review it. I don't understand why.
With Brian Branch, he got ejected yesterday.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I was screaming. He should be ejected. We were watching Red Zone, Mark and I, and I was screaming, "How can they not eject him?" And they finally did. So at least they got that right.
Right. But yeah, there was that weird play in like week 3 or 4 where they just called down and said, "Oh, by the way, that's an ineligible man downfield or something," and it brought it back. Like, yeah, they're watching everything, but why can't they call down and say that's a roughing penalty?
Yeah, I think if they're gonna exert that kind of influence in game, it needs to be about player safety. Like I thought that was good. It should have been a big deal, and it was. But anyway, well, let's hear what.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was saying with a face mask penalty in the end zone with Darnold when he got dragged down and he ended up throwing an interception at the end of the game.
Yeah,
that was a blatant fate. Like that should be something that you can either challenge that or they're reviewing it because that's not a judgment call. It's not pass interference. It's not holding. That is, it either happened or it didn't. You're not allowed to grab the face mask. You grabbed it. It's a penalty, regardless of whether they saw it on the field. But what does Mark have to say?
Mark, let's hear what Mark has to say about the defensive side of the ball.
On defense, this was not a great defensive performance. I'd like to say, and you want to draw these big conclusions, right, as to why it was. I think, and I haven't heard anybody else talk about this, but I know Frankie Louvu went into this game hurt his shin. I don't think Frankie Louvu was Frankie Louvu. Again, I haven't gone back to watch this game again, but my guess is we're going to find out that Frankie was limited. And I think it showed in terms of a dynamic presence out there on the pass rush and in terms of coming off blocks and making tackles. I think he was limited. And I'm hopeful that heading into next week and then against Philly that he's back to being himself. And I think we will notice a difference in the defense with him setting the tone in his absence, not his absence, in his limited role this week. I think the guy who stepped up the most for me was Jeremy Chin. I thought he provided the physicalness. He had a couple of monster flash plays that just kind of set the tone and blew up a guy for a 6-yard loss, making tackles. I think Jeremy Chin stepped up big time, and I would like to acknowledge that. The team managed to get up for a game that they could easily have lost. They didn't have their greatest game. The offense carried them. And next week, maybe more of the same. What I am seeing overall is this team shows up to play, even with everything to lose and limitations and all the things that were stacked against them in this game. They found a way to win. That's what good teams do. It means a lot having a good team around here, and I am more than happy to be stressed as hell heading into next week.
Yeah, so I think just if we're going to sum this game up, you just got to say, look, sometimes you got to win a little ugly. Sometimes you're not going to be at your best across the board. And I know I keep hearing complimentary football, even though everyone misspells complimentary when they talk about it. But that's what we're playing right now. It's like, you know what? I would love to see a game where all 3 units just kick ass and embarrass the opponent. But that's pretty hard to do in the NFL, especially in division games.
We saw it against Cleveland.
Yeah, we have seen it, but it's not going to happen every week. And so I think the most important thing is They say it. And I want to mention one other thing. Did you see the locker room video this week of those guys going insane when they got to the locker room? I thought that was awesome because to me, it's like they could go into the locker room and be like, oh, well, we barely scraped by. The defense sucked.
Right.
It wasn't at all. They were just as excited to win that ugly game as they were in some of the more easier wins.
Absolutely. And I go back, and I actually have had to catch myself sometimes thinking back and thought more about back when I played sports, man. You did not care who you were playing. You did not care how well you played, how well the first baseman played, if you're playing baseball, how well the defensive end. You didn't give a damn. If you won the football game or you won the baseball game, you were happy you won. You know what I mean? Like nobody was walking off in little league, in high school, and any level of it, walking off the field saying, yeah, we won, but we should have beat them by 30, so it's a disappointment. They were looking at the record saying we're 7-2. Okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
By the way, if you
1996 is the last time we were 7-2, is that right? Something like that?
Yeah. And if you're a gambler out there, Vegas had our win title at 6.5. We're the first team this year to beat our over-under. We've already gone the over, and we're 9 games in to a season. So, like, I agree that our defense, that there are areas that can be liabilities, but they're not surprising. But at the end of the day, like you said, sometimes you got to win ugly. And look, next week we play the Steelers. And if we win that football game 35-34, we're all going to say, the Steelers had their way with us, but we ended up winning the football game. And after it's all said and done, that's what matters. I'm along for the ride. I'm excited. I'm just having fun at this point because I didn't think we would be here. I'm still in total belief that this is about building Jayden's future, and the Hail Mary, the drives, the things that we saw in this game even are going towards his development. I mean, I think we're well beyond where we thought we would be through 9 games. So, not to say everything that happens from here on out's gravy. I think we're better than a lot of teams, and there will be a disappointment if things happen in the future. But at the same time, guys, we're just getting started. You know what I mean? So it's like,
and we may not be the most talented across the board. We all know we've got position groups that are not where they need to be, and that we'll be working on in the coming seasons. But there's not a team. I'm just going to make this statement. I don't think there's a team in the NFL that on our best day we can't beat. I really don't think that there is. I mean, that's not to say we're going to beat the best teams in the NFL, but we're certainly not. We certainly belong on the field, and no one's going to take us lightly. Nobody. I mean, we're entering kind of the big boy section of our schedule now with 2 games against Dallas and Philly, and Dallas will play us tough, even if it gets worse from here on out. We know Philly's our main challenger in the NFC East, and they're getting better every game. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, to go into the backside of our schedule, what have we got? 4 more games till the bye, so we got a really tough month coming up, and then we get the late bye, and then we finish up. But it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do with 7 wins already going into week 10. So I'll take ugly any day of the week.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, so I guess we can wrap this thing up and say, like, this is going to sound really stupid. You win some, you lose some. We found a way to win. And I could not be happier with what we've seen. The efficiency, the development, and the ability to put games, to control games when it's time. How many times have we fallen apart? Hell, we fell apart last week. We gave up a late touchdown, and the offense still bailed them out. So, well, Brother John, it's been a pleasure always. And if you've been listening along, we really appreciate everything. Please give us a like, a share, and a follow. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently this week. So instead of having a back-to-back reaction and then preview, you'll probably see a preview later this week. So you'll get two podcasts distributed this week. So please give us a like, a share, a follow on both. You can catch us again on all major podcast platforms. Follow along on YouTube. And as always, you can find us at bgobsession.com. So with that, I will say, that'll do, pigs. That'll do.